Hey everyone, so today I wanted to share some of my favorite underrated makeup products at Sephora. These are products that I feel like just don't get enough love. They are so good, and I feel like when it comes to Sephora and high-end brands, a lot of the same brands get a ton of hype, like Patrick Ta, Makeup by Mario, Rare Beauty, Natasha Denona, just to name a few, and I love those brands and I talk about them a ton on my channel. But today I wanted to highlight some products that I feel like are just as good, but maybe aren't quite as popular. So if you're looking to try something new, from Sephora, if you want to purchase something to add to your collection, these are all really great options. I tried to choose one product from each category. There were like one or two categories where I truly didn't have like an underrated favorite. So when we get to those, I'll be asking for your recommendations. But let's jump into it and we'll kick it off with the product that kind of inspired today's video, and it is a powder from Colé. I think Colé is a little bit of an underrated brand as a whole, and I do think part of the reason is because it's a somewhat newer brand to Sephora. I believe they launched in December. I kind of sorted the reviews by like oldest to newest, and the oldest review was like December of 2022. So they haven't been there for a super long time, but everything I've tried from the brand, I've absolutely loved. I've tried, I think, 3 different products. This is probably my favorite because this just gives your skin the most beautiful smooth finish. This is called the Skin Melt Loose Powder. I have the shade Translucent. I believe it comes in 3 different shades. I love trying powders so much, and I feel like I have favorites for all different reasons. Like I love some to mattify the skin, some to really smooth out the skin, some to set the foundation into place all day long. And the reason why I like this one is because it does smooth the skin really well, but it's incredibly lightweight. So it doesn't feel like you're wearing a ton of powder on the skin. If you have extremely oily skin, which I do have very oily skin during the summertime, I feel like my skin gets oily a little bit faster when I use this compared to maybe like the Huda Beauty powder. But as we head into fall in just a few weeks, this is absolutely going to be my go-to. I mean, I've been using it all summer long as well, but I just feel like it will be my absolute favorite. I like the fact that this does snap closed because it just keeps all of the powder in there, and it just kind of creates more of a like neat experience. I love loose powder, but I feel like one of my pet peeves is when it just makes a complete mess. So that's just kind of a small feature I love, but this is a great powder. I definitely recommend it. Actually, while we're on the topic of the brand, I did want to mention this product as well. My favorite underrated mascara is definitely this one. This one is the Lash Amplifying Mascara. When I first tried this, I liked it, but I wasn't in love with it. And I feel like that can happen with mascaras. Like sometimes you know right away if you like or dislike a mascara, but sometimes it takes a few weeks for the formula to dry out a little bit, and then it starts to perform differently. And I think that's the case for this one. It is a very wet formula. So I feel like after a few weeks is when it performs the best because you can apply it a little bit easier, build it up, and it's not overly dramatic. This is a very dramatic mascara. I feel like I would compare it to the IT Cosmetics Superhero Mascara, but I think I like this one better because this one gives my lashes a longer look compared to IT Cosmetics. It also adds a ton of volume. If you want extremely dramatic lashes to the point where they're looking a little bit clumpy, this one is a great option. Because this is more of a wet formula, I do feel like it can weigh your lashes down a little bit, which is why I think it performs better once it dries out a little bit. So it probably has some cons depending on your personal preferences, but if drama is like your number one, if that's what you look for in a mascara, you'll love it. So I'm a big lip gloss fan. I've been on a lip gloss kick, I think since like 2020, maybe even slightly before that. And it doesn't seem to be ending anytime soon. Although I don't have lip gloss on today. I actually have the Bite Beauty lip crayon in the shade Cava, which was discontinued. Mine's probably getting a little bit older, but I cannot find a dupe for it. And I feel like when I want to wear this color, like nothing else really does it for me. So I'm tempted to bring it to one of the Bite Beauty lip labs, like maybe next time we're in New York City, and see if they can just like match it in their regular lipstick formula. But if you have a dupe, please let me know. Anyway, I feel like there are a lot of formulas that do tend to get a lot of hype, but one formula that I feel like just deserves more hype would be this one from Kaja. These are the Gloss Shot lip glosses. These look and feel so good on the lips. Like one of the best formulas I've ever tried. They're a little bit thicker. They have almost like a luxurious plush feel to them. So they're very smooth, very glossy, and really hydrating. They stay on the lips pretty well because they are a little bit thicker, but once they wear off, your lips still feel so hydrated. I reach for these quite a bit. My only issue is that they only have, I think, 3 or 4 shades. I'll swatch the ones that I do have for you. They're all really pretty, but they lean a little bit more pink tone. So I wish they would come out with like a full full line. They did a limited edition set last year where they had like a berry toned one, and that one is so, so gorgeous, but it's not available. It might be on their website. If it is, I'll link it below, but I wish they would just release additional shades. And I feel like if they would, maybe these would get the hype they deserve because they really are amazing. So if there's a specific shade that really jumps out at you, definitely try it out. I don't think you'll regret it at all. I don't know if I would consider Merit to be an underrated brand. I wouldn't consider them to be like an overhyped brand by any means. Maybe like a year or two ago. I don't know exactly when they launched, but I feel like there was a time on YouTube and on social media where I saw everyone talking about their products. And I feel like that's not the case as much these days. And maybe because they don't have a ton of launches. I feel like their last launch was, oh, it was their sheer lip oils, which didn't work for me. But there are some products I really love from the brand. This product to me is one of the most underrated products at Sephora. This is their Day Glow Highlighting Balm. There are so many gorgeous highlighters, but I feel like nothing quite compares to this. I kind of go back and forth. Like, is my favorite formula this one or the Rare Beauty formula? They're really different. My favorite powder formula would be the Rare Beauty formula, but my favorite cream formula is definitely this one. This looks so gorgeous on the skin. It's hard to explain. I feel like you just have to see a swatch of it. It really is like a balm highlighter. It doesn't have like a ton of color to it. It almost has like a very sheer base, and it just melts into the skin in such a natural way. You can blend it in to look really, really natural, or you can layer it up a little bit if you want more of an intense glow. But what I love about this product is that it's so easy to use. You can draw it directly onto your face. You can draw it onto the back of your hand first and then tap it in, and it really just gives your skin the most gorgeous sheen. Like, if you're a fan of a natural highlighter, if the Rare Beauty highlighters are too intense for you, this is definitely a formula worth trying out. And I feel like it's a little bit easier to use than liquid highlighters. Liquid highlighters are so popular these days, kind of like the Charlotte Tilbury highlighters. A lot of brands are duping that and coming out with those sponge tip applicators. And those are fine, but sometimes you want a little bit more of a natural highlighter. And what I like about this compared to like a natural powder highlighter, like the Essence Pure Nude highlighter, is that this looks very skin-like. The Essence Pure Nude highlighter has a tendency to look a little bit dry on my skin, but because this one has like that balm-like texture, it just melts in the most beautiful, natural way. The only issue with this is, like, because it is a highlighter, I don't typically want to set it with powder. So sometimes if I have my hair down, it can kind of like stick to the highlighter throughout the day. That's kind of the case with any cream cheek product that you don't end up setting, but I feel like I really notice it with this one. It's definitely something I can overlook though, because this looks amazing on the skin. So if you haven't tried this yet, I definitely recommend it. I actually do have another product from Merit, and this is their foundation stick. As I was looking through foundations, there wasn't really one that jumped out at me as like an incredibly underrated foundation that I don't hear a ton of people talk about. Most of my favorite foundations at Sephora are really popular foundations. And I do think when this first launched, a ton of people loved it. But again, I haven't heard anything about it within like the past year. Like, I never see anyone using it. So if you haven't tried their foundation stick and you love like a quick, easy foundation application, this is perfect. I feel like foundation sticks as a whole are pretty underrated. I actually used to love the one from Hourglass, but I haven't tried that in a few years. The reason why I like this one is because it's super customizable. You can go in with an incredibly small amount and really blend it into the skin for a very, very natural look, or you can build it up. They say you can use it as concealer. I typically mainly use this as foundation, but it's just kind of nice for even like quick touch-ups throughout the day. If I'm not wearing a ton of makeup, like if I'm just wearing a tinted sunscreen and a little bit of concealer and I'm like out running errands and I come home, I might take a little bit of this product and touch up on the areas where I'm getting a little bit red or I need a little bit more coverage, and it just applies really nicely on top of other products. So it's gorgeous. It wears so well throughout the day. It is more of a hydrating formula. So if you have really oily skin, you might want to set it with more of a matte powder or maybe even skip over it. Even though I do have oily skin, I still love the finish of this, and I do tend to reach for it more so during like the fall and the winter than the summer. But it's a beautiful foundation. And I will say, when this first launched, I feel like some people were saying they were flying through it. And I think maybe like a year and a half ago, they ended up repackaging this and including more products. So if you tried this a long time ago and you felt like it just wasn't worth the money because you used it up so fast, it might be worth trying out again. I've had mine for maybe about a year at this point, and I have a ton of product in here. It's not something I use every single day, but it's not something that I feel like I fly through because it a little bit does seem to go a long way. Another product where a little bit goes a long way is this one from LYS Beauty. This is their bronzer, or I think technically they're called their contour sticks. So I have the shade Motivate. This is such a beautiful formula. And when it comes to cream bronzers at Sephora, I definitely think of Rare Beauty, Makeup by Mario. I feel like those are the two that get the most hype. And when this first launched, I feel like it was sold out for a while because everyone wanted to try it out. But again, after that initial launch, I haven't heard anything about it. And it's definitely something I use all the time. I used it today, and I feel like every time I use it, I just remember how much I like it. I do like the Makeup by Mario bronzer, but I feel like this one is just so creamy and so smooth, like it glides on the skin. You can apply it directly to the skin and blend it out, and it doesn't look patchy or uneven. It doesn't lift the foundation, or you can just roll it up and take a brush and dip your brush into the product and apply it that way. And again, it looks so good. Every time I talk about this product, I feel like I say it has no cons, and truly it doesn't have any cons to me. If you do like a very dewy, hydrating feeling bronzer with good pigmentation and good longevity, this is the one to try. The Makeup by Mario one has almost like it feels a little bit more dry on the skin for a cream bronzer. So I feel like if it's extremely hot outside or I want more of a matte look, I'll go with that one. But again, that's just very specific to the summertime. So for the majority of the year, I do like my products to feel a little bit more creamy and just glide on the skin. And this one's gorgeous. Even though it has that creamy feel to it, it still lasts. Actually, a category where I didn't have an answer would be eyeshadow palettes. I love eyeshadow palettes, but I feel like a lot of my favorites are very, like they get a ton of hype. A lot of people talk about them. I didn't necessarily have an underrated favorite at Sephora, and I scrolled through every single palette on Sephora's website. I felt like they either, again, like I said, were really popular or they weren't really good enough to recommend as like a true favorite. So what do you think is the most underrated eyeshadow palette or eyeshadow formula at Sephora? I kind of want to do a follow-up video on like the most overrated product in each category. I might have done a video like that. Maybe not. The most overrated product or like products that are worth the hype. So we'll see. Maybe I'll follow up with one of those. But I do have an eyeliner to share with you. So I feel like I talk about these a lot, but I think maybe it's more so like in the comment section of my videos or through like Instagram and DMs. One of my most asked questions is like, what eyeliner do I recommend that will actually stay in place on the waterline and not move and not transfer? Honestly, the longest lasting pencil liner that I've ever tried is this one. These are the Too Faced Killer Liners. And they have kind of bad reviews online, to be honest. I feel like a lot of the bad reviews say that they're not able to sharpen the product, and these just sharpen with a regular eye pencil sharpener. So there's no issue there. But I cannot believe how well these actually stay in place. So recently I started tight lining. That's not something I ever did until maybe like a month ago. And I was like, the first time I tried it, I was like, I'm trying it with this one because I know these stay in place so well. This one is Killer Black. I did it today, and every time I tightline with this product, it does not move. And after trying this, like I did try some additional eyeliners, and without a doubt, like every time they end up transferring on my waterline. This one stays in place so, so well. These are matte eyeliners. They're incredibly creamy, richly pigmented. But the nice part is you can work with them a little bit. So if you were to use these on like your upper lash line and you wanted to smudge them out, you have time to smudge them out. And then once they dry, they don't move. So I use Killer Black to tightline. I usually use I was going to say Killer Nude, Killer Cashmere on the waterline if I want to brighten up my eyes. Recently, they launched the shade Killer Pink, which is actually really pretty in the waterline. Today, I kind of have more of like a purpley shade in the waterline from ColourPop, but this one definitely gives your eyes like a bright effect. It's just kind of interesting and different. And then I have a brown one that I'll sometimes use on the upper lash line. So these are my favorites, and these do go on sale fairly regularly. I've definitely seen them on sale during like Black Friday, or I'll just see them in the sale section randomly and just be nervous that they're discontinuing them. But you can probably get these on sale at some point between now and the end of the year if you don't want to splurge on a high-end eyeliner. But I'm telling you, these are worth the money because they really do stay in place all day long. Obviously, Rare Beauty is not an underrated brand at Sephora. They get a ton of hype. I feel like they have to be one of Sephora's most popular brands. But there is a product from Rare Beauty that I feel like does not get the love it deserves, and that would be the Stay Vulnerable Glossy Lip Balms. If you tried the lip oils and you weren't a fan of those, if you felt like they were kind of dry on your lips, try this formula. I wouldn't consider this to be like a lip oil formula, but it's definitely closer than their actual lip oils. It has this really beautiful, glossy, balmy texture to it. I have 3 shades, but I can only find this one right now. This one is nearly neutral. So you can go in with like a very light layer for a super sheer application, but you can also layer them up a little bit, or you can just pair them with a lip liner if you want something a little bit more dramatic. So I feel like this truly is like the perfect lip color for any occasion, whether you're going for like a really soft natural look, whether it is like date night or you're doing something fun and you want a more dramatic lip. These look good every single time. I feel like the texture is kind of hard to explain. Like it's almost a little bit oily, a little bit balmy, kind of glossy, very, very moisturizing, so comfortable to wear and just so pretty and soft. And I think that these are one of the best lip products at Sephora, definitely an underrated favorite from Rare Beauty. Another category where I didn't have a product to share with you would be blush. I love so many blushes at Sephora. There are so many good formulas, whether you like a powder or a cream or a liquid, but I don't know that there are a ton of underrated blushes. The one that I was going to mention was the RMS Beauty blush, but I feel like maybe RMS Beauty is leaving Sephora because when I went on the website, there were only, I think, like 2 shades available. So I don't know if those are still sold there or not. But if you have an underrated blush that you feel like doesn't really get enough love, I honestly would love to know because I love trying new blush formulas. Okay, I have 3 products left to share with you. So for face primer, I chose this one from Caliray. I feel like I've heard some people talk about this, and generally when people do talk about this, they really only have good things to say about it. I wouldn't say it's like the most unknown product at Sephora or like the secret hidden gem that no one's tried, but I feel like it doesn't get enough love for how good it is. What I love about this product is, of course, it's smoothing. I mean, I've tried a ton of smoothing primers out there, but the difference between this one and other formulas is it has a very moisturizing feel to it, but it also keeps my skin matte throughout the day. A lot of smoothing primers go like one way or the other. They're either very smoothing and very hydrating or very smoothing and very mattifying. So this one is like the perfect in between, and that's why I love it so, so much. If you have oily skin, or even if you have normal skin or combo skin, you'll love this product because it just kind of creates the most perfect even base before you go in with foundation or concealer, but it keeps your skin matte throughout the day while also moisturizing it. It really is such a gorgeous primer, and every time I wear it, I remember how much I love it, and then I get on a kick where I only want to wear this primer. So I'll put it away and I'll try some of my other favorites, and then I'll pull it back out and it will be the same exact thing. So such a good option. I definitely recommend this. I do have one more complexion favorite. This is the KVD Beauty Good Apple Concealer. I feel like this did not have a fair chance when it launched because it came out after the Good Apple Foundation Balm, which if you guys remember that product went viral. It sold out so fast, like you couldn't get it anywhere because it was almost like when the beauty community was blowing up on TikTok. So everyone was reviewing it or doing like a first impression where they basically just like swiped it on their skin and made like an exaggerated face and said like run out and buy this right away. People listened and they ran out and bought it right away. And then once the reviews from like actual consumers started coming in, a ton of people hated it. It isn't like the worst product out there. I feel like there are people who do enjoy it, but overall it was just such an interesting, it was just interesting to watch what happened with that. Anyway, when they launched the Good Apple Concealer a little while after, I feel like a lot of people automatically were like, there's no way I'm buying that because the foundation balm can look kind of heavy and cakey on the skin. But this is the exact opposite. It is so lightweight. It almost has a little bit of a serum texture to it. And it's a very thin formula with amazing coverage. So I'll usually use this as a spot concealer if I'm dealing with a ton of redness or a breakout or hyperpigmentation before I go in with foundation. It covers everything, and because it is so lightweight, it wears really nicely under foundation without looking heavy or cakey. You can definitely use this under the eyes as well if you have a lot of dark circles or if you have a lot of redness and you want like a full coverage concealer. This is actually really nice because it is so thin, so it doesn't look heavy on the skin at all. They did launch a Good Apple like liquid foundation, but I don't like that as much as this. I did have the wrong shade, and I feel like that product is so mattifying. It was a little bit too much for me, but this concealer really is the perfect option if you need high coverage and you want a thin formula. So I talked about lip gloss, and then I talked about lip balm. kind of like a lip balm, like somewhere between a gloss and a balm, but I actually wanted to share an underrated lipstick formula. So I don't buy a ton of high-end lipstick. I don't really recommend a ton of high-end lipsticks. There are formulas I like Buxom and Urban Decay, but I feel like this formula truly is so underrated. These are the Lady Bold lipsticks from Too Faced. They also have like a nude line. I think they're called like the Cocoa Bold lipsticks. I did try those and they're the exact same. So depending on what shade you're looking for, I really recommend either one of these, but these are gorgeous. One of the best lipstick formulas I've ever tried. First of all, the packaging is really beautiful. They have like that magnetic closure, so it just kind of like snaps into place, but they feel heavy, like they feel luxurious, which I feel like is just nice to have every once in a while. When you roll it up, it has a little bit of like a heart-shaped applicator, and I do like heart-shaped applicators. This one is not quite as obvious as like the Kaja lipsticks where they have like a plastic applicator that's shaped like a heart, but these are just kind of cute. They have a very pointed tip, and then obviously with wear, it will wear down just a little bit, but these are pigmented, like one swipe pigmentation, you get amazing color, and they're very, very moisturizing. They feel so good on the lips, but they're not overly creamy. I feel like the issue with a lot of like pigmented moisturizing lipsticks is if they're overly moisturizing, they end up smearing and bleeding and moving around. That doesn't happen with this formula. This formula stays in place really, really well throughout the day, but it is so comfortable to wear and so intense, so vibrant. I just think that these are one of the best lipstick formulas out there. So if you are looking for a new cream lipstick formula, these really are amazing. Like sometimes I'll wear these and then I'll go back to wearing a different formula and it just doesn't really compare. So these, in my opinion, are definitely worth the money and worth checking out. So that's everything I wanted to share with you in today's video. Thank you so much for watching. I would love to know what you guys think are the most underrated products in every category. I have a couple of videos on my channel that I'll link on the screen in case you want something related to watch and you want to hear about like my favorites at Sephora or the worst products that I've tried in every category at Sephora. I also filmed that video. But thanks for being here. I'll see you very soon with a new one. Bye.